Algebra 1, Lesson 29. This one is on negative exponents and zero exponents. Alright, we're going to kind of take this slower today, just because it can get confusing. And so I want to teach you something real quick. For example, if you were to see 5 to the second power, what would you do?
5 times 5.
5 times 5 to get
25.
Okay, so the answer to this one would be 25. Now, what you're going to learn today is to do problems like that. Okay, so if I were you, I would take step-by-step notes on what to do first. Okay, first thing you're going to do is make it into its reciprocal. If you see it, if there is a negative exponent, you are going to first of all make it into its reciprocal. So don't pay attention to the negative 2. All right. What is the reciprocal of 5?
Negative 5.
No, reciprocal.
No. 1 over 5.
1 over 5. Okay. Now we have our negative 2, and so you're basically doing opposite of 5 is, or not opposite, because a lot of times we think opposite meaning negative. But if you think of reversing it, you would do 1/5, right? Mm-hmm. Now, let's reverse that from negative 2 to positive 2. Okay? And you're just putting it on top of what the root used to be, 5. Okay? So this equals this. So your second step, after you make it into reciprocal, is to change your negative exponent to positive. Okay? Got it? And that's the answer for that problem. All right? Now, if we were to simplify that and make it the complete answer, you would say 1 over, and then what is 5 times 5? 25. So this is the final answer. Got it? This is, so we went from 1, 2 to 3. Mm-hmm. Got it?
Yep.
All right. Now, let's do the opposite of that. Let's say we got one that was like this. Okay, following the same thing. Right now it's 1/3.
1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3.
So, time out. No, the 4 is not, it's not this.
Yeah, so you have to make that to the reciprocal.
Okay, that's not what it is.
Still be 3 over 1. 3.
Okay, so first thing you do is make it its reciprocal.
3.
1 over 3 just becomes 3. And then change the exponent. Then it would become changed to negative. You see how this is the opposite of this? Mm-hmm. Kind of hard to think that way, isn't it? But go on and start training your brain when you're working with those kind of numbers or those. Okay? So, let's do a few to practice.
Should that be the answer?
That would be the answer. That'll be it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll actually do some problems.
If it starts off like that,
you'll see.
You make it to positive.
Okay, so yeah, we'll just hang with me for a minute. Okay? So, alright, so here's what we're going to do. 3 to the negative 2 power. Alright, what's my first step?
You make its reciprocal.
Make it into its reciprocal.
1/3.
1/3. And then change the negative exponent to positive. Okay, and you put it above the 2 because that's what you're working. Final answer? 9, because 3 times 3 is 9. So the answer to this is that. Got it? Just try a few more. This one might be a little bit more confusing, okay? So let's walk through this one. I want to look at this really quick on how to write this for sure. How we're doing it right. Okay? So, here we go. Okay.
3.
Do the reciprocal first. So 1/3 would change to just 3.
To the 3rd power.
Positive. And then the negative 3 will become
positive
3. And then 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So final answer will be 27. Alright? Now, let's get to some that are like negative numbers. Okay? For example, I mean this. Yeesh. Right? Okay. Now, stay with me. So here's what we're going to do.
Negative 1/3.
This would become, what happens to the negative 3?
It become negative 1/3. Or
change it to its reciprocal. 1 over negative 3. You still want to keep that negative 3 because when you've got a negative exponent, all you do is change it to its reciprocal.
Yeah.
Okay? Second step, change the negative exponent
Positive 2.
to positive. Okay. Now, remember this? We get 1, and then negative 3 times negative 3.
Positive 9.
Positive 9. See how we did that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you just got to take it step by step by step. All right? So we're gonna take a break from that and what we're doing here. Okay? And we're gonna do a little something different. This is kind of what we did, I guess it's been a week ago, but when we had a lot of letters, like x to the 4th power, m to the 2nd power, x to the 3rd power, m to the 1st power, or actually just had m. Okay? Now remember how I would tell you to put a 1 right here? Okay. Now, how would I figure out what the final answer to this is?
Like terms.
Yes. So x and x's. So x to the 4th power and x to the 3rd power.
X to the 7th.
Okay, it makes x to the 7th power. Now, remember how I told you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, and then count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to get 7. Or you can just add your exponents. When you're multiplying like this, letters next to each other, you're adding the exponents. Okay, so that's just 7. And then m would be
3.
3. Very good, because we would have m, and then m. So 1, 2, 3. See how we did that? Okay, now, what are we going to do? Keep that. I'm actually going to keep this answer right here for just a minute. Okay? And I'm going to do right here another one. So stay with me. This kind of has common letters and numbers like we just did. Okay. Now don't freak out, okay? Because you're still going to do the same thing. You're going to find, now this is multiplying the letters, okay? And so what you're going to do, we have 4 x to the 4th power, and then we have x to the negative 2 power, okay? Now, on this one, we went 4 plus 3. On this one, we're going to go 4 plus negative 2, which becomes 2, right? So it becomes x squared. Good job. And then m, we have 2 plus a negative 5, negative 3. Final answer. Okay? So don't make it harder than it is. Just take it one step at a time. You're going to add your exponents when you're multiplying those letters. Okay? Let's do another one like that. And then we're going to move to something different again. Okay. Okay, so here we go. X, negative 2. Y, negative 6. Y, 5. X to the 4th power. Z, like that. X, Z to the 5th. Now, first thing I would recommend doing, you see how these all have numbers on them?
1.
I'm going to go ahead and put 1 and 1 because we do have one Z and we do have one X. Okay? Now, I'm going to take all my X ones. Okay? So this is going to be negative 2 plus 4 plus 1. And you can even write that down. X to that to show yourself that. So negative 2 plus 4, 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. So then I'll change that to 3. Now, we'll move to the next one. Y to the negative 6 to the 5th. That's it. So that becomes
Negative 1.
negative 1. Good job. Okay? And then Z
To the 6th.
to the 1st and the 5th, which becomes the 6th. Final answer? There you go. See how we're doing that each time? Okay, good job. Now, changing roles again, all right? For example, I'm going to start off real easy. Let's say we had 1,000, okay? Do you see that this is the same thing as that?
Yep.
Okay, so 10 to the 3rd power actually means 10 times 10 times 10, which is 1,000. And if you can see this, we have how many zeros? 3. And I have 1, 2, 3. So 10 to the 3 is 3 zeros, okay? What happens when I get to 10 to the 2? I have 100, right? Which is 10 times 10. 2 zeros, which is 10 to the 2, 2nd power. All right, 10 to the 1st power would just be 10, right? I have 1 0, 1 0. What is 10 to the 0 then?
1.
1. It's important that you recognize anything with a 0 up here
1.
always equals 1. So if you get something funky that looks like this, and they're going to add letters in this one just to kind of confuse you. It's a z squared. To the 0,
It's 1.
it's going to equal 1. Okay? Anything to 0. 2 to the 0,
1.
that equals 1. 20 to the 0,
1.
1. Okay? Always equals 1, and that's the best way I can show you how that looks. Okay? So just remember, anything that has an exponent to 0 is always going to be 1, even if it doesn't make sense. And they'll even do stuff like this. 1. Okay? You got it? You feel like you understand that one?
Yeah.
Alright, so, for example, let's watch this. Here's what we're going to do. X squared, y to the 5th. We're going kind of a little bit back. This is going to kind of combine two things that we just learned. Y to the negative 2 and x to the negative 2. Okay. Now, let's do our x ones. 2
0.
plus a negative 2 would become x to 0, which is really 1. I'm done with this. I'm done with this. Because I got x to the 0, somehow put that in your head that means you need to want to make that a 1. So that's 1. And now let's do our y's.
Is that a 5
y,
or negative 5?
Huh?
Is that a 5 or a negative?
Negative, I think. Wait, I'm looking at the wrong problem. No, it's just a regular 5. Sorry.
Okay.
Yep, good job. Okay, so y to the 5th power plus a negative 2.
Positive 3.
Positive 3. Final answer.
1y3.
1y3, or you can even just say y3 because the 1 is 1. Or just normal, okay? Let's try another one. You don't always have to put a 1 in front of it. Okay, ready? M5, B2, MB negative 2. Now, what's the first thing you would do on this?
Like terms.
Okay, so I have m to the 5th and
m to the 1st.
we need to put a 1 there just to help us. Okay, so then m, and then I've got 5 plus 1, 6. Good. And then I got b, 2 plus negative 2,
0.
0. So this equals
m to the 6th.
1, which is m to the 6th, 1, which is just m to the 6th. Okay? Got it?
Yep.
Alright, now, this one's going to get a little bit harder, so stay with me. We're going to do the distributive property using using some of the methods we just did. So stay with me. Alright, it says use the distributive property to expand. Now, the distributive property is this. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 4 is 12. Adding those together is 27. Okay, that is the distributive property in simplest terms.
Yep.
Let's do distributive property in more harder terms. Okay, so for example, x to the 5th, y to the 0, stay with me, z, I'm going to put my z like that, times p to the negative 3, z to the 0, minus 4x to the negative 5th, z to the negative 1. Now remember I put my z's like that to help us out. Okay. Alright. Now, I think the first thing I would do is to notice
the zeros, make them
the y to the 0 is just 1. Okay, so I'm just going to put a 1 right here. You see, instead of putting it in the middle of the letters.
Yep.
So it's 1x 5th z. So I'm going to make that a little bit closer. Like that, okay? This one is 1.
1p.
That z with the 0 is just a 1, so I'm going to put a 1p to the negative 3. And that's it, right?
Yep.
Alright, now, we're going to take this and multiply it by this. First, you're going to start with your numbers. 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, is there any x's with this that we can multiply?
Negative.
No, so it's just x to the 5th power. We just multiply this times this, and there is nothing else to add to that. So x to the 5th, z, there's 1. Make sure you put 1, just even though you can't see it. Is there any other z's?
No.
No. So we're just going to put z to the 1.
P
And then p to the negative 3rd.
minus.
Okay, minus. Now, we're done with this. We're going to go here. 1 times 4. 4. We're going to do this later, this minus thing, okay?
X.
X to the 5th.
0.
And x to the negative 5th becomes x to the 0,
Which becomes 1.
which is 1. And then 4 times 1 is 4, so we don't do anything.
And then z to the negative 1.
And then z1 plus z to the negative 1 makes
Nothing.
z to the 0, which is 1.
Which is 4.
So it would be 4 times 1, which is still
4.
4. Okay? So, our answer is 1 x to the 5th z
To the first.
p negative 3 minus 4. Final answer. Okay? Alright. Let's do another one. Just to make sure you're understanding. It's still the distributive property. X negative 2. You can do this one on your paper with me. See if you can do it yourself, how you're doing with it. Y negative 2. X squared y squared plus 4x4 x to the 4th, y to the 2nd. Okay. First thing I'm going to do that I noticed, I'm going to put a 1 and a 1 in front of those. Do you know why I did that?
Yeah, so there's
Because I have 1 of this set, and I have 1 of this set. And I have 4 of this set. Got that? Okay, so now let's take and multiply. 1 times 1, 1. X squared, x negative 2, I'm sorry, x to the negative 2 exponent, next, x to the negative 2nd power, times x to the 2nd power. So that's negative, that x would be negative 2 plus a positive 2, which will become 0, which x to the 0 is 1, and 1 times 1 is 1. So we're just going to leave it as 1. Okay, now let's do our y. Y to the negative 2 2nd power and y to the 2nd power, we're going to multiply those two, or add those two, so that's y to the negative 2 plus a positive 2, and then we get, that's a 0, and y to the 0 is 1, and 1 times 1 is 1.
So it'll be 1 plus.
So 1. Now we're going to do plus, so we're done with this part. Now let's go and do this one.
4.
4 times 1, 4. X to the negative 2 and x to the 4, so this would be x, and I've got negative 2 plus a positive 4.
Squared.
So that would just be 2. Good. And then y, negative 2 and a positive 2 becomes 0. And y to the 0 is 1, and 1 times 4 is 4. Final answer? Yep. 1 plus 4x squared. Got it?
Yep.
Okay. Last thing, and this may seem simple, but it's actually a little bit hard. Okay? I'm going to do 3 of these. What is this answer?
1.
1. Good. Stay with me for a second. Okay. Negative 2 to the 0, anything with a 0 becomes 1. Now, this is, you have to see this. Remember how we talked about covering? It's almost like this, negative 3, 3. We would do this
9.
and then pull that out. Because unless it includes it, you can't multiply the negative with it.
Yep.
Remember that? So this is not included. This is on the outside. So what you're going to do is go What is 2 to the 0?
1.
Remove it. Negative. See how we did that?
Yep.
These may look like they're the same,
They're different.
but this is that multiplied 0 times, which equals 1 always. This one is that, okay? That is lesson 29. Time up.